What's up everyone, my name is Royal Rebel, and in this video I'm going over the latest Dead by Daylight chapter, Chapter 26, Forged in Fog. For those of you who don't know, Forged in Fog dropped this week. With this new chapter, we got a new map called the Decimated Borgo, a new survivor, Vittorio Toscano, and a new killer called the Knight. This chapter is also known as the For Honor chapter, as the Knight was a collaboration between the developers. I'm also going to note ahead of time that I do not speak Italian, so if I mispronounce anything in this video, I apologize in advance. But starting off with the map, the Decimated Borgo is actually a pretty cool map. It stands out because it's very heavily inspired by medieval times, and there are a lot more cosmetic barriers that really change up looping. If I had to say anything about this map, it would be to watch out for piles of hay. In just the past few days alone, I've seen plenty of survivors get caught on hay while in chase. I also do want to call out the adjustments the devs made to this map since the PTB. Now, I don't have any footage to show you guys the map, but it was ridiculously orange in the PTB. It was really causing a problem for players who are colorblind, and so with Behavior's recent push to make the game more accessible, I just want to give them a quick nod for their efforts. I think the map looks so much better. Hopefully it's more easily visible for anyone with visual impairments, but I mean, it's kind of almost a night and day difference. And on to Vittorio. So Vittorio is the newest survivor, and while many players have been making him their next daddy, I do want to say, on top of a very cool design, I really like the perks he comes with. I really think they'll shake up the game in a fun way. His perks are Potential Energy, Fogwise, and Quick Gambit. Potential Energy is probably Vittorio's best perk. After repairing a generator for 8 interrupted seconds, you have the option to start storing generator progress as tokens. 1.5% of generator progress translates to 1 token. A survivor can have a maximum of 20 tokens, which translates to 20% generator progress. So the quick math on this is for every 30% you store into potential energy, you'll be able to release a maximum of 20%. Now, if a survivor is hit while carrying the tokens, they lose all of their tokens. If a survivor misses a skill check while storing energy, they'll also lose some tokens. This perk I think will be really great if you have a generator that's not being pressured, but you want to apply the tokens to a generator that is being pressured. So like if you have a late game scenario where the killer is concentrated on the generator with the most progress, you can go get tokens from a generator that's not being pressured and then apply it to the one with the most pressure. I think this will also combine really well if you have cooperative teammates and or use the perk Prove Thyself. That way, instead of making no generator progress as you store energy, it's just slowed. Vittorio's next perk is Fogwise. This is an information perk. So whenever a survivor hits a great skill check, the killer's aura is revealed for up to 6 seconds. Now, I thought I was going to like this perk better because in general I love information perks, like both for survivor and killer, but for me personally, I feel like if I'm aiming for a great skill check, I'm going to be too focused on the skill check to really look around. But I also feel like just in general this perk will just take time to get used to running. I feel like this is the same for most aura revealing perks, so in order to get the best use out of it, you're just gonna have to practice. And then finally, Vittorio has Quick Gambit. This is another one that I like in theory, but for my play style, it's a little too high stakes for me. So how Quick Gambit works is that when you're in chase with a killer, any generator within a 24-meter range gives each survivor on that generator an 8% repair speed bonus. And I'm definitely not saying that this range needs to be increased, but I really only see this getting value when you get survivors coming to that last bit of gen while the killer tries to apply pressure. Like in solo queue, most survivors dip off of generators when they hear the killer's tear radius, and 24 meters it definitely falls within that radius. So that's why in general I see it lacking value, except for those moments where survivors are really clinging to that generator. But that might be the intended purpose behind this. Overall, I really think Vittorio has decent perks. As they read right now and as they felt so far, they feel decently balanced. And I'm really excited to see what kind of combinations players come up using these. Now on to the Knight. So far, I think the Knight is probably one of the more interesting characters to come to Dead by Daylight, both in terms of perks and ability. So the Knight has an ability called Guardia Campagna, which allows him to summon 3 guards. And then the Knight's perks are Nowhere to Hide, Hex, Face the Darkness, and Hubris. So starting off with the ability Guard Campagna, the 3 guards that the Knight can summon are Carfinex, who breaks and damages objects faster and has a longer hunt phase. The next guard is called the Assassin. This guard moves faster and deep wounds survivors when attacking. And then the final guard is called the Jailer. So he moves faster during patrol, has a larger detection range, and a longer patrol phase. While the Knight is summoning these guards, survivors are invisible to him, but you can still be heard. The best strategy to avoid having a guard being placed on top of you is going to be kind of similar to Spirit while she's in her phase. So, walk and avoid taking an obvious path. Another thing to note is that the guards, when they're placed, they seem to walk towards the Knight after being placed down. So while they'll detect survivors within their hunt range, if a survivor isn't being placed between the Knight and the guard, there's a higher chance that the survivor is going to go undetected and escape the hunt. Now, I I've already heard some concerns about guards being used to camp hooks, but so far since launch, it hasn't been a huge issue. Overall, I'm confident it's not going to increase camping due to the fact that hunts are relatively short, and with a perk like Reassurance available, it really does seem like a waste of the killer's power to send it to a hook survivor. So to me, it's more of a situation where a killer that's gonna camp anyways, like with this ability, he's gonna camp no matter what killer he's using, so this power isn't really gonna entice more people to camp hook. But going on to the knight's perks, first perk is called Nowhere to Hide. This is another aura information perk. So when damaging a generator, you can see the aura of all survivors for up to 6 seconds when they're within a 24-meter range of you. I think this is a really fun perk to play against, especially because I know there are moments when I get greedy as a survivor, and this perk is basically a counter to that playstyle. It will definitely get killers a lot of value, especially in endgame situation or 3-gen moments, when survivors are most likely to huddle near specific generators. And because this perk's range is tied to the killer's position and not the generators, I don't think the distance is too limiting. So Hex Face the Darkness. This is probably the most interesting Hex totem we've gotten in Dead by Daylight so far. So when a survivor is injured by any means, it activates. And while they're outside the killer's terror radius, the afflicted survivor will scream every 25 seconds and have their aura revealed for 2 seconds until either they're healed, entered the dying state, or the hex is cleansed. Now, what makes this perk interesting to me is if the survivor is healed or entered the dying state, the hex extinguishes itself. This means that survivors don't have to crawl over the map looking for the hex to get rid of it. They just have to cooperate, or I guess let their teammate go down. And finally, Hubris. I feel weirdly most excited for this perk, and if you're a killer who hates getting stunned, I think you will too. Whenever a survivor stuns a killer by any means, they are exposed to up to 20 seconds. Now, back when this was in a PTB, I did try to do a test on like what would proc Hubris, and while that list wasn't completely exhausted, so far the only thing that I've seen that doesn't count as a stun is when you trigger a flashlight save. But if there is any interest in a Does It Hubris video on YouTube, I would be glad to get some friends together and test it out again. Probably one of the things that impresses me most about Hubris is that it doesn't seem to have a limit on its range. So, for example, if I put Blast Mine on a generator, run across the map, I can still be exposed, which I think from a killer POV is pretty cool. And I mean, 20 seconds is a fairly short amount of time, but overall, I still think this is a really solid perk. And just like Vittorio, I think the Knight has some pretty balanced and fun perks. It will seriously be really interesting to see what players pick up on and what combinations they come with. But that is everything that came with Forged in Fog. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more content, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel so I can bring you more Dead by Daylight content. And if you want to check out my Twitch streams, I currently go live on Sundays and Thursdays 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Saturdays 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.